Right, this is going to be another episode of Hot Take Point Made, League of Legends edition, hence why it's got like the Smite icon instead of a Molotov / incendiary grenade, even though a lot of people actually, if you don't know Counter-Strike, we even call it on CT side the Molotov sometimes, but it is technically an incendiary grenade because there's that weird thing where they decided, I'll never understood why, by the way, even though it's a League podcast, I'll never understand why they leaned so heavily into the law of CS, bearing in mind it's about terrorism, and that makes it the least like sponsorable game of all time. Like, crazy idea. I'd have actually just gone from like the Quake. Remember, the reason Quake works is you're like a space marine fighting demons on a spaceship. Like, spoiler, that has no connection to real life. Although I could make some jokes there, you know. But you know what? We'll just keep it there. Let's keep it there. I could make some sort of a joke about T1 fans in the future. You know, when we have space colonies. Anyway, you get the point. We'll skip that. We'll go back to League of Legends. So anyway, as usual, this show obviously convenes a bit. If you don't know, in CS, we actually try to do it roughly every week. But there's also a million CS tournaments, to be fair, stimulating all that out. We're trying to make this one a bit more sparing so that we have time to really concoct some crazy takes. So here's my question, boys. I will say, teaser, there's going to be 2 fan takes on this one. Remember we did one on the last one, we just roasted and it was shit and all that. I'm doing a mix. I'm doing the odd fan take that's good and the odd down that shit. So who wants to start, though, with one of our takes? Who has a take? Zaboutine's got one right on the gate. Okay, where are we going here? Where are we starting?
I'll start with one that's not mine. Last weekend, I was co-streaming with the petty tyrant, Mr. Kameto. We were co-streaming the LEC, and he get the take, right? He gave that take, and I think it's a really good one to start with.
Oh, okay.
He said, G2, it's like, it's a very hot take.
God,
it's like G2
shit. Come on, hit me with it.
doesn't make playoff. Doesn't make playoff in the end.
At all! Like they're not in top 6.
Top 6.
I'm gonna have to quickly go and look. Because to be fair, they have a couple of games left to play with good people. Let me look.
So I can elaborate a little bit, right, to give some people context. So G2 has been losing the last 3 series, but it's not just that. They've been losing 3 series to very, very bad teams because they lost to BDS that has lost yesterday to Team Vitality. BDS lost to like 13k goal lead against Heretics. They lost to GX as well. And I think they had a series that was like pretty bad as well. So they are like in the back-to-back losses against very, very, very bad team. They look really shaky. Like nothing works for them. Draft are like terrible. And if you look at their like agenda for the next weeks, they have a match against Vitality, who's are much better than what they were. And the next weekend they play SK, which should be an easy match, but they have a match against Carmine Corp in France, right? Because you know they have the roadshow in France for the last week.
Right.
Yeah. So they have to beat KC at home because it's happening in the headquarters of KC. The stadium's like residencies KC. So if they lose 2 out of the 3, they will be in 4-6, and that doesn't guarantee. Maybe it guarantees tie breaks.
Yeah, it guarantees tiebreaker almost. Yeah, so you're basically so then you got to look at who they tie break off against, and they're most likely going to break off against BDS. Or because records don't matter, do they?
Oh, Vitality maybe. Could be Vitality.
I mean, I think at this point, I feel like if they go to that position and the players play the way they do, since they lost 2-0 against BDS, I can bet, you know, on a slipping on the banana peel during the tie breaks and losing it. So that's the take, guys. What do you think? G2 doesn't make playoff, doesn't make top 6.
I've got 2 problems, right? Okay, actually, kind of 3. I'm gonna give it. Even though it is in France, BB, Caps, and Hans Hammer are actually very clutch. Like, particularly under pressure. If you actually go and look at it, and I was talking about this a lot, they were way more favoured, like way less favoured in my opinion, to beat Fnatic like a bunch of times when they played them at certain points in the season, and big key BO5s, big ones that were on LAN. And usually the reason they would win is, and it would be a LAN event, they'd just make less mistakes. They would like core their game down, and they would just like not actually make that many like big fuck ups. Caps done this loads when it was like the Corke final versus like Humanoid. Caps doesn't do like that much in the final. He just doesn't make actually like any glaring mistakes. And Fnatic kind of like fuck themselves into G2, and they catch like the big throw when Fnatic start overplaying. And one of the big things I see still with a lot of these teams, and 2 of the teams are going to heavily be playing for playoffs, as they do tend to like not make desperation plays, but like it's you're so like hungry for the win, you kind of like overplay your hand when you do have like the lead in the game, and G2's still like pretty good, though. I can't hate the take entirely, Zaboutine, because didn't even consider it coming into this show, and now that I'm having a look at it, it's not the most like unlikely thing that could ever happen. I mean, I was getting called like a madman because I said that Vitality would make playoffs from Rich and Nymera, and they were saying that was impossible. And now the playing field for that isn't completely off the cards. But looking with that loss to Fnatic and BDS, the double. I didn't realize how crippling. Yes, IG. It's crippling for G2. Like I didn't consider it how bad of a position it puts them in. Because now they guarantee they need the double win, and they've not looked like that type of team at all.
Yeah, I mean, losing to GX, who's like, I mean, you look at the rankings, GX is 2-5, BDS cannot win a single game. So at least losing to Fnatic, I'm okay with that, right? Like Fnatic's top 3 team.
Yeah, of course.
But they lost to a really, really bad team, and it's a like 3-loss streak. Draft looked really shaky, like the blind Gragas. They like make zero sense since game 3. Keep going on the Yasuo. BB doesn't look like a player, the player he was during winter. I think the best player they have is like Hans, but he's invisible because the game, like the map's burning. Skumon is not able to like produce any type of gameplay. Labrov's shaky. I don't know. What do you think, Thorin? What do you think?
The problem is, like, put it this way. I'm sort of with Keire. The best part of the take is just that it's vaguely plausible. Like, it's not a terrible hot take, whereas even on, like, any other week, it would have been, because, like, imagine if you gave this take last week, where you'd look at the schedule and you'd go, well, GX, that's an instant win. Fnatic's probably a win. Who knows? Maybe 50-50. And then you'd look at the rest, and as a result, you'd tick off. You'd say maybe they could lose the KC one, that's it. But actually, the reality now is they lost both the GX and the Fnatic one, so that's open. The main thing for me is this, whether they can actually, like, not make top 6. Like I said, it depends on stuff like, do they actually have to like lose to Vitality then, so Vitality has the tiebreaker? If so, that's less plausible. I will say, if you look at the remaining matchups, the KC one, right now, by the way, I would just favour KC to win that one. Like, I'd say that one already, they lose. So if you only have to lose like one out of the other two to fuck it up, it is plausible. Like, I do think the thing about Vitality that's been interesting is they clearly do have like real talents on that team. It's just the question was, how quickly are they going to develop? It looks like actually they've sort of accelerated pretty fast this split. And then what's funny is, it kind of says something about the strength of LEC this split that I can't even just write off SK instantly, mate, without the game happening. Like, not only did they beat Fnatic, but they've had actually a couple of series that weren't that bad. Like, there's times where they're in the series. Like, for example, one of their star players actually has been the fucking replacement jungler. Like, if he has a pop-off game, it's not impossible he can do something. So, with that said, look, I would not expect any team with Loopy to actually beat G2 in a fucking best of 3. Like, that I do not. But put it this way, bear in mind, 1, it's a Kameto take, and 2, it is a fucking hella spicy take because it's sort of like a reformatted version of like Gyotto's. But a difference is actually it's vaguely plausible. And I have to say that was absolutely unthinkable even a week ago. Because I think the thing about G2 for me is surely of all the top teams, remember they're supposed to still be in that mix with Fnatic and G2 and KC to be the best team. The one thing you'd normally say about the G2 squad is they should have the best floor. Like you don't expect them to actually lose. They're, of all the teams, they're the ones you don't expect to lose to the lesser teams. KC I've seen almost lose every bloody game, even the ones they win. Fnatic, you never know with them. They can just give away a game in the process. I agree with, put it this way, it's a good hot take. I wouldn't agree with it overall. By the way, spoiler, most hot takes you really shouldn't agree with. That's what makes them hot takes, isn't it? They're supposed to, for me, they're supposed to just be plausible, make a good point, and then also play with, like, in this case, it's the notion that in your brain, the worst you're prepared for is G2 come like third. The idea they don't even appear in the playoffs would be absolutely insane. And by the way, if for some reason that happens, we'll give Kameto props on this show. That's the
By the way,
one
thing does save them is game score tiebreaker, and they have actually got like a positive game score. A game scores like a
against so Vitality. Yeah, true.
No, but they're 8-7. Vitality are 3-3, but they're 6-7. They're like actually a negative win rate from within their own series. So that's the only thing that saves them. That they might be, if they do end up in tiebreaker, at like the 4 wins, they just go ahead because they have much better game score than everyone else. Even if they have worse head-to-heads with all the shitter teams, that'll be the only thing that like saves them. Is that like they had the 2 zeros and stuff. But man, it's actually looking like pretty grim because I'm re-looking back at all the games, by the way, and there's a couple here and they're like, they're not convincing losses, by the way. They're really not convincing losses.
I've got a fun one for you. I've got a fun one for you. Okay. We're going over to Keire for this one. And are you ready? It's a T1 take. Spoiler instantly. Like the joke there is, you know that meme they always show from Scarface, Zaboutine, of that like scene where he's talking on the phone and they're doing that like money count, like because it's that montage where they're just making all the cocaine money. Like the joke is, as soon as I even say it's a T1 take, the guy who makes the thumbnails for this instantly, like all his fake pictures just loading into Photoshop, he's just ready for that money maker. This is what he does basically, he just makes fake thumbnails. So here's the take, and what's funny is, it's going to be a mad hot take because it's going to sound like, on the one hand, I'm like a T1 fan to make this take, but I'm actually simultaneously wrecking T1 fans by making this take. Because here's the problem. If you actually said to me the second that T1 won Worlds, what I actually thought would happen, Zaboutine, which is they'll just successfully sign all 5 players again. And of course you run it back. Like, by the way, you run it back probably anyway if you win Worlds. But if you win Worlds back to back with the same 5 players, just almost narratively, you almost have to just try it one more time to see if it doesn't work, right? I don't even though that's not really actually, by the way modern sports thinking works. Like actually in sports thinking, even if you win the league, you try and upgrade your roster to make sure you win the next one. I actually think in esports we're a bit more sentimental. People just need to know, would that 5-man lineup have won or not? So what's funny is, if you'd have told me actually in the off-season that T1 successfully manages to sign all the players like Zeus again, I would actually tell you that's a mistake, because I do think that the World's wins, listen, they weren't flukes in the sense that like they didn't trip over and win, but they were flukes in the sense that like they never looked that good at any other time during the years. Like that was the part that's crazy. They really did catch lightning in a bottle at these Worlds and somehow get these amazing performances. And by the way, it usually also took something from the other teams as well, like LPL playing weird in the meta. So I would actually say on paper, even if you could re-sign all the players, you probably shouldn't, because like I wouldn't think you'd be number one. I wouldn't think you'd win Worlds again. In fact, I already say you've already got the 2 Worlds. If anything, gamble and do a move like, maybe you should sign Pays, or maybe you should sign Scout or something, do a big gamble. But I'll tell you what, here's where my hot take goes. My hot take is this. If they'd actually managed to sign Zeus, but I'd have known what I know now about the fact that they could bring Smash into the lineup, I actually think if T1 had signed Zeus and just replaced Gumayusi with Smash, I think they would actually be the number 1 team right now in League of Legends. There you go. Because here's the thing. One, bro, Zeus just is like, if he's not the best player in the world, he's the best top laner in the world. Like, by the way, that even includes Bin now. Like, I've seen enough BLG games like that. That just can't... Like, Zeus, for real, might actually be the most important player in World League of Legends. Secondly, holy fuck, has Fearless Draft made this guy look even better. Like, he's just unbeatable in Fearless Draft. He's so cracked out. And then, thirdly, I thought Dom phrased this very well. The weird thing about Zeus that people missed was he almost enabled Gumayusi, because he didn't have to be some Uzi eye like we play around in 24/7 AD carry. He could actually almost be like the weak side sometimes, so it could allow the carries to serve. The problem the Thorin match has, I don't even think it's Smash versus Guma. It's how the fuck do you make Thorin and Guma work? Like, that's just not a very good matchup. Like, that doesn't really work to either player's strengths. So I think if you'd have had Zeus, and look, let's say you'd had the option to put in Gumayusi or Smash, but I'm just thinking of some of the games I saw where Smash has just looked like a demon. Mate, could you imagine some of those games if Zeus had been in the server as well? Like, fucking hell, T1 would be scary. And then lastly, I'll just throw this in there. The part people are going to miss is this. Bro, I actually think this might be the best Faker start of the year since like 2 years ago or something, like 2023. Like, he actually was, in the winter split, he was actually cooking. So I also think if you could have had Faker play at that level, Zeus just still there like he was in Hanwha, and you could have brought in Smash or something. I think they had... And then lastly, the last detail is also the world scene did change. Like, if you go look at the LPL right now, it's a fucking mess. Every single top team can lose. If you go look at LEC, it's all over. The competition's wide open. So I actually think right now, if you look in Korea, like, yeah, Gen G's really strong. They're really strong off hands. They still have a lot of flaws. They're not as clean as they used to be last year. Hanwha Life, by the way, actually is just sort of winning by virtue of like the floor of their game. They don't even blow anyone out the server. Only first stand is where they crushed anyone. So I actually think for real, T1 would be number 1 right now if they somehow signed Zeus. What do you think about that hot take?
So I'll take this, okay? I actually think T1's like biggest problem is actually like Fearless, and for like a weird reason. If you go and look at the way T1 historically draft, they have like a bunch of like, they're not crutch picks, but they have like these like totem pole like picks that they use to get like their archetypal like thing they want out of like certain things, okay? Famously, like Zeus is like one of the massive like implementers of this. It like MSI, he would like pick like specific things into like lane swap so that they could have like the opposite thing in the bot lane and stuff like that. So like he'd play the Zeren and Guma would play like the shorter range, the longer range carry with the utility, like yada yada yada. You've seen it all before. And then owners like pick would always complement off of like Faker's pick, and like it would also always complement into the idea of like if you took Keire and Owner top at the early fights, it could link up and bridge Zeus into the game on like specific level 6 timings and like power spikes. The problem is you can't do that 3, 4, 5 games in a row now with Fearless. You have to be able to play like sometimes you just have to be able to play a poke comp. And T1 were never good at actually playing like archetypal poke comps. What do you call it? Mixed multi-variable angle engage, like the infamous BLG style. They just were not as good at like playing these like every single week to week to week. They could play them like in a one-off or a wee bit of draftability. I'm not trying to say they were like complete idiots, but it's not something they could just like turn their hands to just win any given time. And so they've been massively hurt. And I think one of the players that it's really hurt the most is Keire, because Keire has an entire lane that he now can't rotate to or like go to, where he used to have like strength and now he's got weakness.
That's true.
And you like Keire used to be able to go right. We all talk like in League of Legends colloquially, like we bring support mid and you play 2v1 or 2v2 or 3v3 mid, right? But T1 were like, the people were like, they thought about top lane like a mid laner. Because they basically did have a mid laner top lane, right? Okay? And they were like, okay, why do we not think about like top lane in these like metrics? In terms of like, if Zeus is having like a bad time or he's in this like killer matchup, we just create these acceleration points. You know, the infamous like 2023 Aatrox Yone counter matchup. If they sent the jungler top to like try and nullify like the Yone, Keire would just swap into the matchup and it was unplayable again. So there was all these different things, and they now can't do this because they've got more limited like players. And in any team, once a team like starts fucking up, the ADC and like the jungler, the first 2 roles are just going to go to, like the wheels are going to spin off the car, because ADCs in modern League of Legends right now just cannot function on like failing like teams. But even beyond that, I actually think Smash and Guma I think Smash has had better peaks, obviously. But both their like floors have just kind of been like their own fault. I don't like Smash has got more variance in his game, and I think Guma's just like been bad. But Guma was like brilliant for a lot of 2024. He was
definitely mega at Worlds, by the way. He was fucking killing it there. I'll give him that.
It was very, very consistent throughout the year. Like I kind of go back and forward between him and Zeus as the best player or on the team. But what do you call it? Like he just, and I don't think you could have really known it. But like you're now no longer facilitating one of your best players, and like Guma just doesn't seem to be able to get like a stability to his game where he can provide the utility that he used to have in draft, like game to game to game. So I don't know. There's just so many problems with like the team right now. I don't know if having that fixed would have just made it. It would need to be like a lot more variables for me. It's hard to say though. I don't know if it's ADCs. Is based on my point.
I tend to agree with you, Thorin, but for different, I would even extrapolate that the team who has Zeus right now,
it's just whoever has Zeus would be
the
one,
best team,
okay.
Right? Is like most likely to be.
Sure.
And I think there is few reasons for that are like actually super interesting in terms of like how much we figured out the game. I think that the snowballing through bot lane has been like kind of the peak snowballing through bot lane was 2023 T1. You know, like Varus Ashe matchup just taking over the game. And I think there has been a lot of like new features in the game, such as swap laning and stuff to kind of prevent that. And at this point, when I look at the games, you know, week after week, most teams that are dominant right now in the world, no matter where, are the teams that have the opportunity to either blind a strong top in any matchup, to fall in draft with support matchup to get that priority and play snowball through bots, or have a counter pick top in a way that the blind top, opponent blind top is in a weak spot, and you can actually, if your bot lane's losing, you have counterplay on the top side, your support can roam, you can always control at least half the map. And that is something that like Zeus is the best at, because I think that, not that like, for instance, someone like 369 is not like insane at playing weak side, but Zeus can flip from one game to the other from being an extraordinary carry player to being a very respectful Aatrox, bad matchup, defend the dive, do one-on-one against 4-player type of player. And just because you have this guy, you can decide during the draft whether you want to blind and get your counter pick support and play through bot side because your mid jungle is strong and you can dive, like, I don't know, like you have Xin Zhao and Galio and you can go bots. Or you want to play scaling, but then you're going to have your bot lane kind of pushed in and you want to play through top and you just give that to Zeus. He's the only player in the world so far that I've seen in 2025 that's able to play both styles at this level. And for that reason, I think whoever has Zeus has an edge when it comes to, and especially in Fearless, has because when you fall and you have less picks and counter picks become more polarizing because you don't have these blinds like Rumble or Gwen, you know, that you can play into anything and you need to actually have someone with hands. It does work much better when you have someone that can play everything. And you can kind of see it as well in Europe, which I watch more with Casey. Kana can play blind and counter pick very well. And so this is a struggle for instance, for G2, who doesn't have a free matchup top anymore when they play against KC. Yes. So I would say your take is true, but I don't think that like it's a Smash or Guma problem. It's just because you have Zeus. No matter how you draft, you end up with either the best weak side or the best strong side on your top lane.
By the way, yours is technically spicier. Yours is just anyone who has Zeus would be number one. Like, okay, it's pretty good. Pretty good take.
I think people didn't realize just how much of a problematic player Thorin is. I remember talking to, like, when I was arguing with, like, Rich, I was like, I think Thorin might be one of the most frustrating players to ever have on your team because you can actually see a lot of the time, like, how skilled he is, but he might have some of the worst decision making of any top laner and like of all time in terms of, like, if you give him like a lead, like if I opened up a game and there was a 6-0-0 Jax in a game and it was Thorin, I think that game could still be lost. Like, I've seen
it. He's the Noah of the top lane. That's what
he's saying. He's the Noah of the top lane. Like, Noah's on Ezreal, 6-0-0. Every other ADC, I click my fingers, it's a top montage highlight. It's the best Ezreal gameplay you're ever going to see. Noah's going to die at some point. And it's probably going to be before a Baron, like 24 minutes, like 32, like, what do you call it, dies, he puts his hands like that, like, yeah.
By the way, when you're saying that as well, the saddest thing is, if you think about it, it even makes perfect sense. Like, in some ways, it's almost like this was all a fix by Zeus to fuck T1. Because, bro, who is it? Like, just remember, you guys all watched. Who is it who built the reputation of Thorin? It is Zeus! Because every fucking time they used to play domestically, even though Zeus was supposed to be the way better player, bro, he would just inexplicably lose those finals to Thorin. And by the way, I'm not even just saying like he was in the game and he lost the game. He would directly lose to Thorin in those finals. It was crazy. I always used to say, like, Thorin in those matchups was just like a different player, mate. Like, you just lived in Zeus's head. It's actually how you know Zeus did change his career narrative, because I think the mixture of King and doing him dirty in that one finals in Worlds, and then Thorin just getting him every finals, made people think this guy was like a mega choker, Zeus. Whereas now, if anything, he's completely turned it around. Now he's like the fucking god clutch player. So, no, I'm with you, Keire, because, like, put it this way, that's the problem people don't get. It's not that, like, Thorin has no hands. I'm with you. It's just that he can't be trusted to be the carry, bro. Like, if you just give him, like, you said it perfectly, if you give him a lead, he won't win. He won't win the game with it. That's the problem. I'm with you. I think that's a good one. Right, okay then.
Okay.
Go on, Keire. So, you have one? No? You want to go again? You want to go again, Zaboutine? Okay, let's back to back.
No, go Keire. Keire's takes are like the most insane ones. So
yeah, of course.
Let it be.
Right, so Zaboutine, right? You won't know this, mate, you don't know me that well. So do you know who I hate the most on the planet of Earth, mate? Right, okay? It's not On, right? Okay, I can accept On's existence, okay? And it's not T1 fans, the Covenant, right? Okay? I hate LEC GMs, mate.
GMs,
of, like, GMs, the GMs of LEC, right? I actually think these are some of the worst, like, people in League of Legends, right, mate? But I actually can't deny it, mate. I actually think they've done an amazing job this year, for the most part. I think the LEC GMs, mate, like, for complainers, perennial complainers, and talking heads like myself, mate, right, okay? We've got to take a little bit of a back seat this year, right? Because for the most part, right, they've done a good job. So Carmine Corp, right? You can't really talk there, right? Fucking, right, they've done it, right? Fnatic, can't talk again, right? You're running Humanoid and Razork back, but again, they do look like the best team sometimes.
True.
So, and like, you know what I mean, 5 games versus KC, lower bracket. Movistar Koi, well, we literally said that the team's the best team, and you just need to replace the mid laner. Now, they couldn't have known that Jojo Puyon doesn't have hands, but happens.
True.
Team Heretics, what a great overperforming project, by the way.
Definitely, yeah. They're really coming on this split as well, to respect.
Can I just say, one of the best shit teams I've had to watch in years. They know they're diabolical, and they draft like they're diabolical, and they win games. Appreciate them. G2, right? Now I'm a big Yike fan, okay? But I can even admit, replacing Yike with Skewmon, I think Skewmon's like great, by the way. It's not that I dislike Skewmon, there's a Skewmon versus Yike thing. If you're going to replace Yike, it better be somebody like Skewmon, by the way. I think the solo lanes and the team itself, just a 5-man unit, is having a bit of a collapse, which has nothing to do with the GM. Like, he couldn't have known this. These were the perfect pickups for their aspirations. BDS literally went and got irrelevant. How are they supposed to know that he was going to like lose weight and get badly at the game? Like, how nobody knows that can happen. SK Gaming, perfect again. Giant X is the only org who's contentious, because I don't see the point in like running both like Jackie's and what's his top laner's name? I always forget it.
Lot
with Isma and this like kind of like fucked up top side. They're all rookies, all high variance like players, just madness. But they did go and get the bot lane, and the bot lane's the best part. So what can I say? And then Rogue, well, they're not even attempting, and they're not at any point were ever attempting to be good at League of Legends at all. So we can not even pretend that Rogue's there. So the only failure of a team is Rogue. And Vitality, which was the cursed child, removed Hylissang, went and got a mid laner, converted them to a support, and they've got Nako, who looks like a psychopath and could be a very good player one day. And the mid laner's good. The LEC GMs, I've just ran through them all, have done an absolutely fucking stellar job. They have not actually made the league overall better or created this like Exodia team. But that's just because we got so used to like the G2 like view of like things, by the way, and them just winning everything like all the time, that they made EU fans think that that's just like what happens in every single region all the time. Through line of all the teams, made it amazing, and the league's super interesting to watch. The team parity in EU is really, really good, unlike the LPL, which is just like a fucking shit show.
What do you think?
Your hot take is the GM did a good job.
Yeah.
Yes. Because they're diabolical people.
Because we've all been flaming in the last like 3 years, haven't we? We've all been saying they're all shit in Europe and it's only the G2.
You might not know this.
By the way, that's even a Nemesis take. Nemesis last year, by the way, in like summer, had a take where he said something like everyone except Fnatic and G2 were just totally incompetent and shouldn't be allowed to work in esports or something mental like that. Like the usual balanced Nemesis take on stream. So, no, I think that's a pretty popular take. But so what do you think of this take, Zaboutine? He's actually praised almost every GM there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's wrong, but I think it's incomplete, because I think the scouting has been pretty poor when it comes to some rookies. There are a lot of players in the LEC currently that have counterparts in the ERLs that are like way better, that could actually definitely increase. So I think that what we don't see is we don't have G2 destroying everyone anymore and making everybody else look terrible. But I'm co-streaming, so I'm watching game to game, and I would say some weeks and most weeks I can't make the difference between my LFL games and my LEC games with how poor like everyone's playing.
That should be a fucking hot take right there, because the LFL's garbage right now, so holy shit.
No, LFL is terrible.
That's a hot take right there. If people don't know, this is one of the worst LFL this seasons, probably.
Yeah, it's normal, right? The LFL has sent most of their best players
into
the
problem,
LEC,
of
right?
course, BDS players,
So
KC,
this is a renewal year.
Absolutely.
Right, this is a renewal year. I made the count. I think there is like 8 or 9 players that jumped from LFL to LEC.
Yep.
But still, like in terms of decision making, like if you remove the nameplates and you play the games and you put a Vitality versus GX or some games like this, and I tell you it's a BK Rogue versus I don't know whoever, like Vitality being the LFL, you wouldn't make the difference, right?
True.
So I would say yes. They did a better job than ever, and props to them. But if I give you a list of names of players that could actually be playing in the LEC and versus their counterparts into the LEC, you would say that like, okay, we probably switch from like a 0 or 1 out of 10 to like a 3 out of 10, and we're gonna glaze the GMs over that. But I would say no GMing aside from Rogue is absolute, and Giantix, which I think like their team building is disgusting, is terrible. I would say I'm gonna give you this hot take, but I think it's by a small margin.
Okay.
What do you think, Thorin, about it?
Put it this way, I know what you mean. Like, the most operative part of the hot take is just that you have to know how shit he thought GMing was past years. Like, if you think it's just a normal year, this is great GMing. It isn't. But I'm with Keire in that sense. Like, if you compare... Here's the difference, Zaboutine. In the last 2 years of LEC, anytime I've ever done, like, Rich's show, because he's one of those guys that likes every split to do, like all pro teams and stuff, because obviously they don't do it very often now on the main leagues, whereas it used to be a big topic of discussion. I did notice the last 2 years, every time we would do that, bro, I didn't have 3 G2 names. I'd often have like 1 or 2 G2 names. I would even go like, fuck, there's a lot of talent in LEC. But the difference here is this, Zaboutine. I would look and I'd go, yeah, but they're all trapped. Like, okay, so I had Labrov, for example. I thought Labrov at one point was better than Mickey X. Yeah, but you look at the rest of BDS, it's like they shouldn't beat G2 ever. You go and look at Razork, he was a demon. Everyone who knows Razork's game knows. There was loads of flawed players in Fnatic. Like Gate, he had to do like 1.5 times any other player in the league, it felt like, to win a best of 5. So the difference is, I'll meet in the middle and put it this way, Keire. I think relative to their budget and who is on their team, the GMs have done a pretty good job. Because I actually think what you find is, even ones that to us might not look like great GMing, the best examples are, like you say, like Heretics is a great example. I always think to myself, right, put it this way, the only person I ever thought I would ever give props to Heretics is Peter Dunn, former coach of Heretics, because he loves rookies and he loves like giving underdog players and him. Look, the reason why I had no hope for Heretics is because Heretics and Vitality this offseason were both completely resetting the deck with rookies. But you can tell all the good rookies went to the Vitality side, mate. They got the pick of all the big names. The difference is, there's big names like Paris was a big name, Skuma. These guys are going to the bigger team. Heretics has basically done that thing where we have like all rookies, but not the ones everyone else was trying to pick up. And by the way, if you told me they were doing any games with the Camilo guy from like Division 2, like, get the fuck out. So if I actually look at that low key, that GM actually has cooked. Like, the Carson guy has shown potential. Peter Dunn tells me every week, but he's actually right. I have to give him it. The Stend guy actually is like a sleeper fucking really good player, mate. He's actually, and then, as usual, this guy at this point just deserves like a medal. Flackhead just is like one of the most underrated LEC players probably ever, mate. Like, his baseline of his game's just good. He's never going to be upset, mate. But tell you what, I always say he's just like EU sneaky. He's fucking good though, mate. Like, you can put him on any team and he works. So, no, I actually sort of agree with it. I do. Who do you say?
I say this is the legacy of Kobe.
There you go. That's not bad too. He's a bit like a Kobe, true. He's also a bit like that as a player too. Yeah. So I actually do think if you look at League generally, the difference is in past years there was loads of talent, but I thought they were all on the wrong teams or they were the wrong team. Difference is now I think the way the talent is spread out is way better. It's why the joke of the off-season is this is why G2, I have to actually respect the moves they took with the gamble of the self-made and Labrov one. Because you could argue by giving Yike to Carmine Co-op and Mickey X to Fnatic, they've created their rivals. There's a world where you could just be selfish and go, I won't give you any of my players, then you just get to be number one. But in doing so, the region might just be dog shit, and you'll never know if you're any good till you come to Worlds. So no, I actually think a mix of it is happenstance, as I just said. That G2 the champion did give away players, but I think generally people did a good job choosing. I don't think there was too many like crazy misses on these. So I'm with you. I'm thinking pretty good. Let's do a fan one, and then we'll do yours, Zaboutine. Let's do a fan one. Because here's a fun one. And this one is almost like written by a fan. It may as well just say, this is for Keire. So are you ready? This take is by... Oh, by the way, if you don't know, if you want to submit a fan hot take, you have to subscribe to the Last Free Nation Discord. But when you do, there's a bunch of channels. Spoiler, that's also how you ask questions for Summoning Insight or the Four Horsemen. So there's a channel like SI questions, Four Horsemen questions. And then there's two, if you do the CS one as well. There's CS and LOL hot takes. Put your hot take in there. Last detail, if you don't want me to mention your name, maybe you're scared of us roasting you, say you don't want your name read. Because if you don't say that, I will now do what I do now, which is Jake... Are you ready, Keire? His take is, Knight has the greatest mind for team fighting that League of Legends has ever seen. Knight from BLG, greatest team fighting mind ever seen.
Yeah. Like, look, mate, I've always said this. I think Knight is the best. No, I've said this for a long time. I think Knight is the best team fighter. But then the problem is what that with Chinese or like Stan LPL fans, they don't want to talk about like Knight's weaknesses. Like, he plays sideline in a funny way. He's actually not that good a laner when you compare him to his like peer group.
Not that good on his ear.
Yeah, not an elite Azir player. He can't like his champion pool swings in dimensions, as in like he can go from being like the best like Corki player in the world and poke Corki player in the world, but if he doesn't play it for like an extended period of time, he cannot quickly turn his hand and like reverse the years and be like the best poke Corki player again. He has to like get loads of games underneath his like feet to be able to like turn his hand to it. So Knight is the best team fighting mid lane player in the world on everything that's not an ADC. He's not the best mid lane like ADC team fighter, but as long as it's not an ADC, he's the best. He's the best assassin, he's the best AoE mage, he's the best control mage, he's arguably one of the best tank players ever. I know his Galio win rates at something like, it was at like 38% or something last like time I checked it. He might still just be the best mid Galio player like of all time. If you ever go look the games that he fucking lost on mid Galio, mate, like I could tell you things. You didn't watch that RNG final versus Ben where he got lane swapped into Ben because his top laner couldn't play into him, mate. There's some diabolical stuff. So I would actually agree with the fan. It is a hot take, but you can actually watch. That's the other thing. You can actually watch Knight's POV as well. That's the other thing you can do for Knight.
Oh yeah, because they have the Pro View or whatever. True. Yeah. True.
Yeah.
What do you come on, Zaboutine? Surely this is not in your category. Yes. Where are you going on this one?
I think Showmaker's better. I think Showmaker. I would say
that's a hot take in itself.
I would say. I mean, I think that I genuinely think that Showmaker has a lot of flaws in his game, but I think he's always outshine his flaws by like his impact in team fights. There is very few mid laners in the history of League that have this ability to like die for the team or try to go for the very low percentage play. And I think Showmaker is one of these guys where you feel like it's unplayable, and he finds like incredible angles to salvage situations, because I don't think lane wise I would put Knight above him. I think Knight is a better player than Showmaker, but I've always respected a lot players that are able to go for high risk, high reward plays, which that's why, for instance, Chovy is not part of the discussion for me. Chovy team fights absolutely incredibly, but he will always do what's good for him. And what's the low risk, low reward, right, type of play. And I feel like to be a good team fighter, you have to go for the low percentage play, because League is not a game that you can always win based on like play by the book. And I would say Showmaker is slightly better, but I don't think the take is that spicy. Because I think that Knight is one of the best team fighter in mid I've ever seen.
Yeah, but he said ever. Well. He put him number one all time. That's what makes it spicy, right?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, all time, like all the best mid laners of all time are still playing currently. So you can look at the last 3 years. There is very few names from the past that you would bring back and it's like that guy. For top lane, you have Khan, for instance, kind of stopped, but like was dominant, insanely dominant. You had some ADCs that probably retired, like UDI or something. But at this point in time, right, like all the best mid laners in history are still playing, and so you can compare them. And I would say probably just Showmaker in terms of team fighting, but Knight is definitely like, I mean, top 3 for sure.
Here's the thing, I do think it is a hot take, because by the way, the reason it's actually quite a well-crafted hot take is just if you say to someone, forget Knight, if you just say a non-Korean is the best mind for team fighting ever, already that's a hot take, because everyone would think about how many insane Korean players they've had in League of Legends history. And remember, he didn't say mid lane, he said just mind. Like, so think about how many Koreans would fit this bill, like Faker, Rookie, fucking keep going, Deft. There's a bazillion throughout all of history we can go through of all the players that were so sick in team fights. So I think it's a good hot take, because it's also like a good hot take. It's initially really spicy, but then it's not just complete nonsense. There's something to it. Like, by the way, I do think Knight is unbelievably good in team fights. Like, I mean, look, he's a very good laner too. He's very good in many senses. In fact, what's funny is his flaws are so weird. He has those flaws, Keire, that, you know, that joke where it's like, God has to balance the game out somehow. It's like, if you get all these benefits, of course, at the end, he had to not be a good Azir play. You can't just have everything, can you, all at once? And by the way, the Azir point almost makes this guy's point for him. Because if you said to me, a mid laner who isn't even truly elite on Azir could be the best team fighter, well, that doesn't even make sense, because it's the most busted team fighting champion ever. But if anything, that's why this guy is insanely good. Because even despite not being the best on probably the most OP team fighter champion, he's actually actually unbelievably good on everything. It's almost the exception that proves the rule. And lastly, I'll just say this because I always said it when he played with Ruler, and I think people just always ignored it because sadly they were watching Ruler left click people and win the fucking fights. This guy's angles in team fights are genius. Like he's the guy where, you know, when Jack used to do the team fight breakdown, I would just vote for him to do every night breakdown, mate, because some of the angles I've seen this, like the amount of times I've seen him sort of like hold the ult or like not go in immediately, was, mate, it's the LPL. Normally people just press the buttons and go in. Like, this guy's timing on when to go in is unbelievable too. I've seen him turn so many crazy fights.
It's so funny, by the way, that people always bring up the Azir point as if it's like some like type of like crazy like gotcha. Where it's like, well, first of all, you're like comparing them to like a group of players that's like they're hyper specialized on Azir, and I can just like take them and I can just like turn the question. I'd be like, so by your own like metrics, that's like the majority of them can't play Ahri, can't play Tali, can't play like all these things. Because what I've seen Knight be able to do on this like pick, by the way, like as I tweeted it out just to annoy people, I was like, because Showmaker can't play Tali as well, Talia as well as Knight, we could just say Showmaker's not a good at Tali player. Of course not. That's fucking mental. He's amazing at Talia. Like, that's like fucking crazy. The other thing is like, you take some of the best players of all time, and this is the problem that Knight has, is that most of his like ultra like great moments happen domestically, but not because of like Worlds. It's because at Worlds he has been subjected to some of the most mental team collapses to have like ever like happen, like ever. Like, he literally had like Kanavi like wanted his Korean passport back. Jackeylove was up to stuff. Like 369 forgot he was like a top laner. Like yeah, put it this way, like people always talk about, oh, Knight was quiet at Worlds. Yeah, if you actually go back and look at it, I'll give you an example. The irony is, I always say this to people with Zaboutine. The year Knight never got out of groups at Worlds, DRX, what's his name? The HLE mid laner, Zika was on Silas and attempts to tower dive Knight on Azir. Knight Azir shuffles the double solo laners under an Azir tower, double kills them both, and gets TES the Baron and wins them the game against the eventual world champions. But the guy somehow can't play Azir, and he's done nothing at Worlds. That team went on to win the fucking tournament, and Zika was on his best fucking pick, and it was one of the only 1 or 2 games he lost the entire tournament on Silas. Are you fucking joking? It's mental to me. I can't handle it sometimes.
By the way, I will say, I also think the obvious point that was made earlier, the other reason why it's a great take is because right now the most cracked out player is obviously fucking Chovy. But actually, that's one of the rare things. I agree with you. I would never even say it's a weakness. It's just not a strength of Chovy's. Like, I'm with you, Zaboutine. He's still really fucking insanely good. Like, I wouldn't, like, not sign him because of his team fighting. But he's not the greatest of all time in it. That's not his strength. And also, the reason why in the modern day Faker doesn't even get to be included in this portion is because I feel like Faker has to also be in, like, a fairly good winning position / have resources to do something in a modern day team fight. Like, this isn't like 10 years ago Faker who could bring you back from like 8k gold down. Like, that's, so I also think he also goes by his team strength a lot. So I don't hate it as a take. Again, it wouldn't be my take, but I think it's pretty good. I mean, he obviously made it spicy by making it greatest mind, not even just greatest team fight, greatest mind for it. And I sort of agree on the mind angle. I think he does have a very interesting perspective on how he sees the game. Right, what is your take, Zaboutine? You must have had a spicy one if you were going to come in before. So what was it going to be?
If Rift Rivals was still on between EU and NA, I think that NA will leave EU dead in the mud. We've seen in Team Liquid and FlyQuest. If they had to play Carmine, Fnatic, and Koi, I think that NA would demolish EU.
What the fuck? You're supposed to hate NA. They ruined your whole career and made you look like a fool. Why are you liking them? Why are you loving them now? Why? Go on, give us a reason. Give us a reason why. Give us a reason why. Come on.
There is no emotions. So no opinion. It's not emotion. It's like I'm for EU.
Okay.
What?
Give me a reason why. Give me a reason why. You have to
look at the games.
Come on.
If you look at the games and you look at Fnatic play and you look at MKOI play, I wouldn't say anything with Carmine because I think they're good. But if there was a Rift Rivals today, I think...
Put it this way, Zaboutine. I will tell you something that might actually shock people if they haven't watched LTA. Because obviously LTA is a meme now and people only give a fuck about the big names. Right? If people don't know, Dom does apparently, like, privately, it's not even secret now, he's like the analyst of Cloud9. Bro, I can't lie. I don't know what he's doing, but Cloud9's macro looks way better than I expected it to be. And remember, now they just have these 2 Korean solo laners. Like, on paper, they didn't even make the upgrade everyone wanted them to make. So I don't hate it as a take, put it that way. But it is wild, though, because you are basically implying, like, they dust off all the best EU teams. What do you think about this one, Keire? This is a spicy one. What do you think?
Yeah, I just don't think, like, okay. It's so fucking hard because like it's, NA fans, which I used to be like a grouping of, because I used to like the double F Bjergs and TSM teams, right? Okay, I know, cruel fucking person I was to myself. One of the biggest problems is like Europeans spent way too long thinking NA was this dog shit region with like no like chance of ever beating them. Like they had no hopes of ever doing anything, and they were completely fucking talentless, right? But then NA fans go way too far the other fucking way when they ever like do anything, and there's never like a reasonable. See, I don't think it would like be a complete like dust off for me, because I still watch NA, right? Okay, it's like an old pastime of like mine. It's like an old fling that you go back to. You just shouldn't really, and it still fucking sucks balls. By the way, like the only thing redeeming about NA over EU is that the top three. I don't even know if I could call them like the top three teams. Like the top 3 teams /4 of like NA are like quite consistently able to like hold their pedigree, and EU's having a bit of a crisis because like G2's like in free throw, and they wouldn't be able to like kind of join them. That being said, I actually think KC and like Fnatic would match up against most of them pretty well, with Fnatic probably having like some big problems versus like FlyQuest. I imagine FlyQuest being a bit of a nightmare matchup for Fnatic, but I think the other EU teams wouldn't actually match up that well right now. Right at this moment in time, they wouldn't match up very well against any teams.
You think Liquid would not win against MKOI?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think Mad Lions would match up versus like Liquid, FlyQuest, C9. I think Mad Koi's best matchup would be into 100 Thieves. And that's just, I don't think 100 Thieves are that good.
Reef Rival was only the top 3. That's why I said Reef Rival.
It's
top 3 versus top 3.
Oh,
Reef
sorry.
Rivals was top 3 versus top 3.
Why are we talking about MKOI? Why are we talking about MKOI then?
So, because the top 3 in EU, the top 3 currently in
EU...
you
mean as of right this moment, right? I see what you mean. I thought you meant last season,
it's
right?
Karmine Corp.
Right.
It's Karmine Corp, Fnatic, and
right,
MKOI.
Okay.
So, if the question is, there is a small like tournament, and EU is sending Karmine, Fnatic, and MKOI, and NA sending C9, Team Liquid, and FlyQuest, I think that like NA would demolish EU.
Nah, I mean Fnatic and think could get the job. Fnatic and
do you think they win against FlyQuest?
Yeah, they could get the job done.
I think the nightmare matchup. I think that's like Quad versus Humanoids. It's like smooth sailing. Inspired versus Razork. Back when he was in EU, Razork hated playing against Inspired because Inspired just full clears 3 times. Razork tried to do things, and then Inspired wins all the team fight, where Razork is actually kind of the only flow of it. Razork is kind of an inter in mid game. So the only open match is probably like MKOI versus Team Liquid, right? Like what would Team Liquid do? And I think that like MKOI being hyper aggressive is exactly what like Team Liquid likes to play against, because they can just put their weak side wherever. Like Impact just absorbs the pressure against Mirvin, and then the rest of the team kind of ends and they just win through scaling. So I actually genuinely think if right now I could ship like the 3 EU teams or 3 NA teams in EU and they played against each other, I think NA would win by a landslide.
Yeah, I think you're being generous to the. Sorry, you go, Thorin.
My problem with this is I actually do think the point is stronger if you use the top 3 now, so you take G2 out of it. Because the difference is the G2 players, even though they actually have their own issues, it's like you said earlier about the 3 traditional carries, Keire. You just expect internationally they would just sort of hold up somehow. They'd be good enough, you know. So, but if I'm taking them out, if MKOI's the 3rd team from EU, it's actually way more of a reasonable take than I think of. Because look, there's definitely flaws on the NA side, but people ignore, this has been my take for the last 2 weeks about EU. Bro, the thing that's making LEC most interesting actually is the flaws of the top teams. Like, Fnatic, in theory, could thrash everyone in LEC, but they will also give everyone in LEC a chance to win the game. I don't know why. It's something in Razork's head. He's the new Niski, mate. The second he makes the game-winning play, he has to quickly offer you like a game-losing player. Like, deal. And if you don't take it, then they win the game. But the amount of times, like, the joke is, that's half the reason they even lost that fucking Koi series. Like, in the same way as like God gives them a G2 series, he takes off the fucking Koi series. So they certainly have like a downside that's crazy. I actually think KC's, just because of the fans being so bad, it means you can't have any discussion about it. with actual fans of the team. Bro, KC is number one in Europe, but it might be the fucking weakest number one team I've ever seen, because Zaboutine, like, I've keep telling people this, if you go and watch the series they've played, they probably should have lost most of them, mate. It's just that somehow, at the end, the other teams don't have good enough hands, and the team fighting is still excellent from Kameto, but fucking hell, they're putting themselves in some really tough situations, and like you would think they were trying to give people like a thrill or like excitement, because they give them that close to losing, and then they just win out of a team fight. So I could easily see a world where TL just like properly fucking plays the objectives, and just you never even get a chance to get that winning team fight and come back. And then lastly, the MKOI one, I'm with you as well. If MKOI's the third team, I don't think they're actually that good a team. Like that just shows how bad G2's been. Because if MKOI's the third best team, it's not even that bad a take. This is plausible. They could lose to C9 any of them, bro. They could lose to any of them, in my opinion. What were you going to say, Zaboutine?
I think that Carmine is doing the same thing as G2 was doing last year. They had plenty of games where G2 should have lost, and they kind of just win because the team fight well. That's as well like kind of the signature of a good team. It's like their floor is high enough to beat the shitter team.
Yes, that's true.
But they don't play well. Like
no.
Even the KC players in interviews inside, they say we're really playing like
yes.
bad League of Legends, but it still works. Yes. So we're happy of it. But they look pretty weak as well.
Yeah. No, by the way, listen, as a Liverpool fan, I will say I can totally appreciate that it is annoying when people are like, they've really fallen off this week. And you're like, they didn't even lose. What? Like tell me you still have to lose the fucking game before it's really that bad, guys. You know, like, I agree, it doesn't look that awesome, but you're still winning somehow. Like, you're out there fucking, you're taking moral victories off losses, guys. They're winning these games. They're still winning. It's true.
But Zaboutine, you're fucking torpedoing us, mate, because you're just flipping 100 thieves in there like a little fucking ratty cunt, right? Because, mate, like 100 thieves, right? Okay, are absolutely criminals, mate. They are absolutely criminals. You're basically relying, right, that Cloud9 and FlyQuest are going to dust everybody off, and we're not even talking about 100 thieves. You think 100 thieves are good? Or like they're better, they've like improved.
No. NA has 3 teams, man. Like I say, I'm not here to glaze NA. NA has 3 teams in my book.
Okay.
Sometimes 100 Thieves makes an insane run. Props to my boy Golden Glue there, who does a really good job usually with his teams. But if the games doesn't include Cloud9, Team Liquid, or FlyQuest, I'm going to play something else.
But it's, I know what you mean. But if 100 Thieves is there, Keire, then I do reverse this take, because that's just a jungle mid team for me, that one only. But I'm with you. If we can take them out and Team Liquid's in, Team Liquid is better on paper. They are supposed to be at their 100 Thieves.
Yeah, exactly. I get.
So I don't hate it. Right, I'll tell you what. We'll do one more fan one, and then let's see. So the fan one goes, it's Nadnerb. Here's another one where this could be for anyone. Are you ready? It goes, Jackeylove is a much bigger international choker than players like Peanut or Chovy. He just gets less backlash for this because he won Worlds 2018, where he was carried by his solo laners. Zaboutine, what do you think of that take, mate? It's pretty hot.
Yes.
It's pretty hot. He's basically almost saying Jackeylove's like the biggest choker ever, almost internationally. It's kind of his take, right?
The problem is the definition of choker is so terrible.
True.
Because if you look at the individual performance of most of the players mentioned, Jackeylove actually makes really terrible plays on the international stage that he doesn't do domestically.
Yes. Whereas
the other ones are usually playing pretty on par or slightly worse than what they do domestically, but there is someone in their team that they shit the bed so hard that they eventually lose the series. And then because the guy who shit the bed is not known, we then attribute the choking factor to the star player. So I don't think that Chovy is an international choker as much as what people say. It's just he doesn't win the tournament. Yes. He ends up in top 4, plays amazing, wins most of his lanes, and then doesn't win the tournament. So it's like, oh, he's a choker. I think the international choker is like, if you compare him to Can, then yeah, Can in final would play terrible in game 5 while playing amazing the whole tournament. So there is a case for Can, but I still think like if you don't like someone like Tien or something, I think Jackeylove is one of the biggest choker of all time. Like it's a pretty clear thing to me. Like the underperformance on some games from Jackeylove is really unmatched. Because I've watched domestic games sometimes, I don't watch all LPL because it's too much, but I watch the playoff of summer usually and like spring before MSI. And usually I watch Jackeylove, I'm like, who is this guy? Because people sell him to me when during international tournaments, and this guy just flashes mid with no reason and dies. and then I watch him domestically, and he's absolutely insane. So I would still say that like this is not as hot, because I think that the choking factor attributed to, for instance, Chovy is completely stupid.
Okay, where are you going on this game?
Right, okay, so I think there's a big, like, I think it's true, right, okay, but I think there's like a massive like there's a good like reason for it, right? Okay, so people like Jackeylove has ended up picking like the Uzi eye disease, right? Okay, where it's because they were, as an ADC, they are so dependent on their like mechanical skill to like play out like the game and the situations that they place themselves. When they get like nervous or like stuff like starts going wrong and they like start like getting like a fraction like worse, Jackeylove's not that good a decision maker, even like in the like LPL. Like at times he might have the worst summoner spell economy of any all-time great ADC. That man puts flash on cooldown, thinking like, if I flash now, I'll have it back up sooner. You know what I mean? That's how he thinks about fucking flash, right? So Jackeylove is, I have never seen international losses, because it's not just like a little bit of his game collapses, like the whole thing goes to fuck. His champion pool, like he can't like, he might, in the LPL, he might have like some of the largest pickable like ADC champion pool of any player ever. You need a Juggernaut, plays it, Senna plays it, Enchantress plays it, like long range ADC plays it, Kaisa, great, like Jinx, got you. Like this guy, Ezreal, one of the best. Then he goes international and it's like 3 picks, can't play any of them. Lucian, oh, I'm gonna just randomly start playing Lucian, even though I've not played it like all year, die on mid section every single wave. His team fighting goes to absolute fuck, and you can always kind of see like the desperation things where he's like trying to like jump in backline, insta kill like people, like against like Gen G when he was on Gen, he like flashes to like force shot Chovy when he's on like 90% HP and stuff like that. Like it's just, I actually think he's just picked up like the Uzi thing, where like the pressure of it like constantly like happening like to him is like looping like background, where like Uzi was like talking about like, to begin with, he didn't think of himself as like a choker in like LPL finals, but as he lost consecutive LPL finals and he kept on losing them, the next consecutive LPL finals got worse and worse and worse. And now this is happening to Jackeylove as he keeps on playing bad at all these international tournaments. As he keeps on going to the next one, the like the fan expectations and all that on him keeps on making it getting worse and worse and worse each time. But I'd agree, actually, it's not a bad shout. Like, he does kind of skate on piss ice.
The problem with this one is I actually think it's a banger. That's why I told you I picked one that I thought was a bit silly. But I actually picked this one because I thought it was a great take. Because even though people will know I'm a Jackeylove fan, the problem is I myself have been in that position 1 million times now, where I tell all the people who don't watch the LPL, get ready, this guy's fucking on demon time now. You aren't even prepared. What, you think that fucking Pays kid's good? Just get ready. Just get ready, mate. And then I have to like watch that like fucking MSI last year where it's like, what even is this garbage? Like, this is nothing. This is fucking, you're actually killing me inside. Same at this one, by the way. At this first stand, I'm supposed to, as an LPL watcher, go, bro, Europe's sending 2 rookies. It's time to fucking smash these fuckers. And then you come and like, if it wasn't for TL, they'd have been 5th. They'd have actually been 5th in this fucking 5-team tournament. So I have to say, the real problem with this is you have to know why this is a good take. You have to have watched them play domestically. Because you know what? I'll even bridge it with a hot take to explain why I agree he's a massive international choker. Bro, the most misrepresented player in the history of League of Legends is Uzi in China, because no fucker ever watched it. So they all think based on those few international tournaments. And by the way, Uzi was bizarrely someone who did get a Worlds buff. He would always be slightly better at Worlds than you ever expected, almost every single time pretty much. But then bizarrely, he was always slightly worse in China than you'd hope he would be, no matter what his team was, by the way. And I have to tell you, this is the point that I think makes the case of that, how bad a choker Jackeylove is. People always forget in League how many years we've now played the game. Bro, at this point in time, I actually think domestically, Jackeylove surpassed Uzi. Like, he's had an unbelievable run of playoff runs, Keire in finals, and the amount of times he's been the guy who carried the team, or he was the best player on the team. I think he's better than Uzi domestically, but the difference is, Uzi had some all-universe fucking Worlds runs, etc. And Jackeylove never had one for me. I'm with the guy who even said this question. I think he got away. I always said, the reason I used to be a critic of Jackeylove is because when he played with Shy and Rookie, I used to say, This is like the dream if you're an aggressive ADC. What I'm playing with the 2 craziest individual solo laners ever, and then everyone's playing in a solo lane meta. Well, in that case, I can just almost like front, I've got the jungle here. It doesn't matter. Like if the jungle's in my lane, my solo lanes are just farming all day long and getting all the kills. Like I always thought that was the most dream position to be in. Well, the difference is after that, when he went to all the teams where he was one of the main stars, like he had a couple of years, especially the ones that were rough ones. Like, when he was in that TES with Rookie, he was unbelievable, by the way. Like he was the man. He was probably like one of the best players in the whole LPL. Just that team couldn't get to Worlds. They were just inexplicably not getting there. Yeah, he had the odd years where it's night a little bit, but I do think genuinely, I'm with Yuki here. Domestically, he was unbelievable, but internationally, I agree with this take, because what's funny is if you ask a fan who the biggest chokers are, they are going to say Peanut and Chovy. By the way, I'm with you, Zaboutine. The Chovy one, I don't even understand genuinely. Like, I've always said, I don't even know what choke means if Chovy chokes. He certainly, I'll always say this, Zaboutine, he didn't carry the game, but that's different from choking the game. To me, choke is like you can't even operate, you're fucking up everything, you're doing flashes that don't make sense, you're just dying immediately. No, Chovy would just have like 7 out of 10 games when he needed a 9 out of 10 game. That was his sin. And by the way, the Peanut one is always hard because it's fucking jungler. Like, Peanut and Tian both kill me, because when 2 of my biggest chokers ever are junglers, that is the role that you can just have like the whole game fucked by your team, by the draft. Like, certainly they both made like ice test problems. So actually, I think it's a good take, actually. I think he might be the biggest choker ever, especially bearing in mind, as we're saying, it's not that like he played like, fucking just all right. He actually played abominably at some of these international tournaments. By the way, forgetting just team fighting, just even in lane, he would just die. Like, that's why, for real, the one that broke me with Jackeylove and made me have to I had to have my own intervention and realise this is true, Zaboutine, was the lane he had with Mako, because that lane looked so good in the LPL, bro. They were so good. Yeah. And then both of them were absolute hot trash when they went to MSI. Like, they should, like, for real, I was fans of both of them, and it broke my heart so badly, because if you hyped them, they were just fucking trash, bro. Like, they probably should have lost to Fnatic. That's how bad they were. You know what I mean? Like, come on, give me a break. Give me a break.